Good morning, YouTube, BookTube. This is Johnny. Time to make a video. It's only been like 22 hours since I made a video, but it is a quiet Sunday morning here in West Michigan. It is 9:17 in the morning on Sunday. It is November the 8th, 2020. Yeah, it's another beautiful, sunny, warm. It's supposed to be in the 70s today here in West Michigan. Last year, as I said, it was snowing here. It was, you looked out the windows and there was snow on the ground, and it was gray and it was cold and wet. And the weather's just been perfect lately. So it's a Sunday at the beginning of a new week. And writing in my diary, as I usually do every morning, afternoon, and evening. I'm always writing. I'm on page 1077 for October the 8th, 2020. My wife left this morning for Sunday school and church, and I thought what I would do is, I mentioned that last week we went to thrift stores. My wife and we went out. The weather was so nice that we took like and we would go out and drive and look at the autumn colors. Of course, everything is pretty much done. The trees are kind of bare with leaves, and we've been raking our back and front yard with leaves last couple of days, and putting them on the streets. The city of Holland picks up the leaves, and so yeah. Planting plants on our new landscape, and just going through our days. But I wanted to get down on the lower level, these used books that my wife and we found at thrift stores and libraries last week. So I'll just show them. I'm not going to really go into detail. Now, one thing, as I've always kind of qualifying these videos, I'm a book collector. My hobby is not fishing, my hobby is not hunting, my hobby is not stamp collecting, my hobby is not playing golf or, traveling the world. My hobby is collecting books. I am a book collector. Now, I do read. I read all the time. I've been reading since I was like a teenager. I love the written word. I love books. I always have. Even when I was, throughout, even when I didn't have money for books, I would go to the city library there in Richmond, California. And then when I became a Christian in 1970, after high school, I had the book. I always had the book. I had the Bible. I could read the Bible. Now, to me, that's the most important thing. Now, as I mentioned in my last video, I don't read books like this from cover to cover, but I always, to me, it's just something that I can read the Bible. I mean, I've read the book of Genesis from cover to cover. I've read the book of Deuteronomy cover to cover. I've read the book of Leviticus cover to cover. I've read Joshua and Judges, and that should somewhat say I do read from cover to cover. And sometimes I find a novel that I'll finish, but I rarely, if ever, finish a nonfiction book from cover to cover. As far as the Bible, I've been reading the first book of Samuel. You go into the life of King David, the Psalms. We've been reading the Psalms. David wrote a lot of the Psalms in the Psalter, the book of Psalms. He didn't write every Psalm, but so so I've been reading about David there in 1 Samuel. And of course, we know that the Jesus is called the Son of David. When you read the book of Samuel, there is prophecy and promises made to David that he would have a seed sit upon the throne forever. and his kingdom would be forever, and that is referring to the Lord Jesus Christ. So I do read things from cover to cover. And to me, the most important thing reading cover to cover is the Bible, from Genesis to Revelations. If you just read that, that is something that will be something that is really important, because that's the only thing that's going to be important on the last day of judgment. What have you read? Well, I read James Joyce. You'll tell God, well, God, I read James Joyce. Ulysses, well, that will only really help you in eternity. But read the Word of God, read the Bible, the Holy Scriptures. So anyway, these are the used books that I found with my wife last week. I found a copy of T.H. White, the world's greatest fantasy classic, The Once the Future King. I've heard about this book for years, and I've seen copies of it. So finally I picked a copy up by T.H. White, the world's greatest fantasy classic, The Once the Future King. W.H. White's masterful retelling of the saga of King Arthur is a fantasy classic as legendary as Excalibur and Camelot, an potent story of adventure, romance, magic that has enchanted readers for generations. So I got that. I found a novel by Rachel Cusk. I collect her writings. This is Saving Agnes. I found this at a Goodwill there in Grand Haven. I have her novel, The Country Life, and some other novels by her. So I found that. Then I found this at Holland Book Mart. I mentioned Philip K. Dick. I found this one, Galactic Pot Healer by Philip K. Dick. This is science fiction. I collect him. This thing cost me, it was like $4. It's outrageous, but it's in perfect condition. Looks almost brand new. So, and then I found this at a Goodwill, Mastermind: The Rise and Fall of Fritz Haber, the Nobel laureate who launched the Age of Chemical Warfare by Daniel Charles. Yeah, when I'm reading about the First World War, you read about gas attacks and chemical warfare, and we hear about chemical warfare today. So I picked this up. Then I picked up a biography on, this is a biography on Martha Gellhorn. She's a very famous journalist. She was married to Hemingway, Ernest Hemingway. I have this already. I wasn't sure. I have it in hardback. Now I have a paperback. Gellhorn, The 20th-Century Life by Caroline Moorehead. And then I found this book at Goodwill in Grand Haven, Precious Metal. Decibel presents the stories behind 25 extreme metal masterpieces, edited by Albert Moran. And I found this at a Humane Society thrift store in Grand Haven. This was in my Amazon box for a long time, and then I found this used in perfect condition. The Heartbeat of Wounded Native America from 1890 to the present by David Treuer. I really wanted this. This is a history of Native Americans from a very written by a Native American. His mother was an American Indian. His father was Jewish, and he grew up on a reservation. His mother was a lawyer there in the Indian reservation there in Minnesota, and his father was a school teacher there on the reservation, and he went on and got his doctorate in anthropology, and he wrote this book presenting a different perspective on the history of Native Americans. So it looked. I looked at this and looked forward to reading it. And I found this book at a thrift store here in Holland, Just My Type, a book about fonts by Simon Garfield. This is on fonts, like on typewriters and computers. This is on fonts, Just My Type. See, it has all about fonts, the history of fonts, you know. Then I found this book at Humane Society in Grand Haven, The Literary Life and Other Curiosities, Literary Lovers, Mad Poets, Unusual Endings, Famous Last Words, Wits, Wags, Weasels, Editors and Agents, Critics and Book Burners, Odd Epigrams, Misleading Headlines, Famous Rejection Slips, Forgeries, Slang, etc. So I got this. This is edited by Robert Hendrickson. It's all about writers and writing and literary things, which I really like. Then I found a biography. I got this at the local library. I told you the Book Nook, our local library used bookstore, has been closed since the pandemic, the COVID plague, which I had volunteered there for almost over 10 years. It's been closed since March, but they have a little thing in the library where they put used books or books they've taken out of circulation. They don't take donations anymore at our local library, used books, but they put out books, just a little, I don't know what the thing is, a rack. And I found this, Hemingway's Boat, Everything He Loved in Life and Lost, 1934 to 1961, by Paul Hendrickson. I have, you know, it's very interesting. I have a huge Ernest Hemingway collection, but I never read him. But I have this in paperback, and now I have a hardback. And then I also found this at our local library where they sell a little selection of books. Inferno, The World at War, 1939 to 1945 by Max Hastings. I have Max Hastings' autobiography, which I can't find. I look for it. Been looking for it for 2 days down the lower level, but I have his Max Hastings autobiography. He was a newspaper editor there in England, in London, and this is his Inferno, The World at War, 1939 to 1945. So yeah, you know, I collect books on the First and Second World War, but primarily the First World War. But this is only, you know, this is only like $5, and it's in perfect condition, even though it's a library withdrawal. So I'm pleased to get it. So I got that, Inferno, World at War, Hemingway's Boat, The Literary Life, Just My Type, about fonts, A History of Native America, The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee, stories of very classic extreme metal masterpieces, biography on this journalist, Martha Gellhorn, The 20th-Century Life by Caroline Moorehead, about the Nobel laureate who launched the age of chemical warfare, a book by Philip Dick, a galactic pot healer, a novel by Rochelle Cusk, a fantasy classic, The Once and the Future King by T.H. White. So yeah, now I can put down those on the lower level. And I'm supposed to get books this week, and I'll show those when they come in the mail. This morning I've been reading Christ's Prayer Before His Passion, Expository Sermons on John 17, Volume 1 by Anthony Burgess. This is appeared in reprint. So that's it. Yesterday I watched college football until 11:30 at night. That was it. I read that memoir by Julian Barnes, day went by. So I hope you're having a good weekend. I hope you have a good new week. I thank you for the comments. Forgive me if I have not responded to all the comments. I try to go through the comments and respond to your comments. I'm sure I miss them, and forgive me. And my intention is not to ignore you or to take light your comments. I appreciate all of them. And yeah, so once again, I hope you have a good new week. Do pray that you are not sick. We're having here throughout the country a surge of COVID. Hospitals are getting jammed again. It's getting really serious. They're closing down schools. Our daughter in Denver, they're closing the schools again. Here in Grand Rapids and here in Holland, they're closing down schools. There's going to be a shutdown. It's going to be, looks pretty grim. But at least we're not going to have 4 more years of Trumpism. Not saying the world's going to be any better, but at least maybe we'll get back to some kind of normalcy, if that's possible in this fallen world. I keep thinking about the Psalms, and there was a Psalm, I think, I was thinking of Psalm 64 in the book of Psalms. It says, O God, thou art my God, early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee, my flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is, to see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary. Because thy loving kindness is better than life, my lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee while I live. I will lift up my hands to thy name. My soul shall be satisfied with marrow and fatness, and my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. When I remember thee upon my bed and meditate on thee in the night watches. Because thou hast been my help, therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. You remember the last video I mentioned the shadow of thy wings. Because thou hast been my help, therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. My soul followeth hard after thee, thy right hand upholdeth me. But those that seek my soul to destroy it shall go into the lower parts of the earth. They shall fall by the sword, they shall be a portion for foxes. But the king shall rejoice in God, every one that sweareth by him shall glory. But the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped. But that verse there where it says, O God, thou art my God, early will I seek thee, my soul thirsteth for thee, my flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is. That's my prayer, and I hope that's your prayer too, that you're crying out, that you're thirsting for God in the midst of this wasteland. To see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary, because thy loving kindness is better than life, my lips shall praise thee. So with that, I will close. Until next time, bye.